listen, tell the world who you are and what's your name.
My name is Cetewayo. I just finished serving over 51, almost 51 years in prison for incidents I had no involvement in.
Wow. 51 years, that's a long freaking time.
That's a long time.
So first I want to ask you, how did you get the name Cetewayo and what does it mean?
Well, a friend of mine gave me a name because he felt that it fit my character, always wanting to fight for justice.
So what is it? What does
Well,
it
it
mean?
means warlike.
Warlike?
Yeah,
Wow,
warlike.
so cool. So explain to the world what is a warlike mentality, especially in prison?
Well, warlike mentality is one who goes against the system, try to make things better for everybody.
Okay. So equality for all.
Yes, equality for all.
When you encountered the criminal justice system, did you realize that there was equality for all?
No.
No.
No, I always felt that when being naive, that if you didn't do something, you go to trial, you was going to win. Because they wasn't going to put somebody in prison for years and years and years for something they had no involvement in. I thought you was getting a good lawyer if you had money. I thought that you was going from the jail that was fair and reasonable. And I thought the prosecutor's job was not necessarily always try to find somebody guilty, try to find out who is the one that done commit these crimes.
So basically, it wasn't until you encountered the system that you realized what the system was
What
about,
the system
right?
was about, correct.
Yeah. So to elaborate a little bit further, exactly like myself, before I went to prison, I was oblivious to everything.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get a fair trial. I thought I was going home. Like I told everybody in the county jail that I was leaving. Unfortunately, I succumbed to the
Like
same
all the
reality.
rest of us, yeah.
Yes, the same reality. I was convicted and I was actually sentenced to life without parole. All right. So 51 years you were in prison, 37 years solitary confinement. Right?
Straight, that's what I done in straight.
Straight. But before all of that, you were offered a plea.
Yes.
What was your plea?
Well, they offered me a 10 to 20 back in 1972.
Okay, so you were offered a plea which you turned down, right? A lot of us do. We believe in the system. But the person who actually committed the crime in your case got how much time?
He got 7.5 to 14.
And he went home.
And he pleaded guilty. And he went home. And he went home in 1978.
How did you deal with that?
That was terrible because, but see, also knowing that he said he was in done this and was admitted to doing this, and I didn't do it, had no involvement, it even hurt him more because you would say, here's a person who can do something, he get a small amount of time, and then after I fought everything I had in me to try to prove that I was innocent, they wouldn't accept it.
So
and I realized, I came to this realization, this country, that old saying about everybody's innocent until proven guilty. No, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And sometimes it takes forever to do that. Fortunately, I was able to do it only because of a new DA came in with more progressive ideas.
Amazing. So let me ask you this: 51 years, right? How was it during that time?
It was terrible.
It was terrible. Elaborate a little bit how terrible.
Well, it was terrible to the point that it means humiliating because your whole completely life, everything, little everything, is true about somebody else. God come in one day, he had a bad night and take it out on you. They had no real recourse because nothing you could do about it. Because as soon as you did try to do something, they would frame you up or they get together and they attack you.
So how did that make you feel inside, like as a person?
It's like, well, it becomes a dehumanizing process.
Wow.
When you don't feel though, I'm a human being, you treat it just like animals treat, sometimes even worse.
Wow.
Because there's no compassion whatsoever on their part.
When you felt those negative thoughts, how did you combat those negative thoughts?
Well, mine was, before I went to solitary confinement, well, in times I got out of solitary confinement, I always tried to learn. Okay. Learning, reading, writing. When I first went to prison, I wasn't really good at that. I went to 4th grade in school, then I didn't go to school no more.
Wow.
And so
you told me earlier that when you got in the room,
right?
Yeah, you guys were in the pole together, and that you learned so much from him, right?
Yes, I did. Well, I met him, I was about 19, and he asked me why I was in RHU, and I told him why I was in the hole. That's what they call the hole, to the RHU. Mm-hmm. And so we got to talking all the time. He started introducing me to a lot of ideas I never was exposed to in my life. Wow. That was about revolution, which means changing, improving, making things better for everybody, everybody in society, observant of that.
So let's talk about death by incarceration, and why do you think it needs to be completely gone?
Because the whole concept of prison started off as rehabilitation. Okay. They were completely away from, now it became one of punishment and control. Okay. And there's lots of people in prison deserving of rehabilitation to be a policy and practice of learning how to rehabilitate themselves.
Yeah.
Because then they can go back in society as productive citizens.
Yes.
But prisons won't far away from now. It's about punishment and control. In fact, it makes dudes even worse because now dudes become extremely vindictive, being mistreated, subjected to all type of racial hatreds and animosity. So when you go in the streets, a lot of them don't but most of them don't have life without parole.
Yes.
They're going to be subjected, and then that type of abuse and repression in prison, they go on the streets and they're going to take it out on other people in the streets. So prison became really some of the worst things in society now because it created monsters.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, right? So it can create monsters, but it also can create people, like you and I, right?
Yes.
Who were sentenced to death by incarceration. I'm a positive person in the community, and being with you for these last hour, I've learned so many positive things.
Well, most of them got mental health issues.
Yes.
That's what makes them so dangerous.
Yes.
Because most prisons that I counted, which I count a lot, they're not really dangerous.
Yes.
They can go on the streets and become productive citizens. Most of them, they came and learned. Most of them went to school and took advantage of all those opportunities. But that 1%, I think the treatment for them is not one of control and punishment. It's one of mental health treatment. It makes them a better person. And that's that 1%. Most dudes are not bound in prison.
So you and I are perfect examples, right? That,
yes.
We're not dangerous, right? I'm not dangerous.
I'm not dangerous.
You're not dangerous. There's a lot of our comrades that are walking free now, leading this movement. They're not dangerous.
There's a lot of them, yes.
So we need them to come out, right? Because right now our communities are falling apart, right? Yeah. And it's the men that have been down, that have used your time wisely, right, to better yourself. How can you be productive in helping our children today with all this gun violence?
I think a lot of them, if they was taught nature of prison, an alternative to reacting to maybe some perception of disrespect, perceived perception of disrespect, then you explain to them and let them know that prison is brutal, prison is humanizing, and prison is repressive.
Yes.
And I think most of them would understand that. Then you tell them, also show them, alternative to that right there is this. You can live productive lives. You can go get yourself a pretty good education. You can go to all types of trade schools, learn good skills, and you can be productive in society, and you can profit from that right there. You don't have to resort to everyday crime things that's out there.
Like, okay, so for the public who believes that people in prison are dangerous, that's a false narrative,
yes,
right?
Yes, extremely false narrative.
It's false, and they want people to believe that because of people profiting.
And help maintain the status quo. The status quo now, because prisons are transformed, they become a criminal industrial society right now. Prison as we can. And it makes lots and lots of money. And what's so horrible about it is that the taxpayers are the ones that's funding this bill. Just think that all the money they spend in prison, they would take that money and help poor societies, middle class societies. They have a better country.
So let me play devil's advocate, right? So there's people that pay taxes and they're like, they're in prison, I feel safe, right? When in reality they're paying taxes and they're still not safe, right?
Exactly.
The only people that are profiting from people being in prison is the 1%, right?
Yes.
Which is the bourgeoisie.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not even the little guys that are paying the taxes that are profiting.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what would you tell the public? Like, what would you tell them about that?
You try to explain to them how the tax money that they spend for building and maintaining all the prison will be much more effectively used and helping the educational system, bring down housing costs and build affordable houses where you won't have so many homeless people in the country right now today. That money can be going there. So and also, it can be used to lower their taxes.
Yeah. So you guys basically in prison, I said you guys, you knew women, right? A lot of the amazing men that are behind the walls. You were trying to improve the community within inside the prisons, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys went to the hole for a lot of years because of it. Talk a little bit about that and how you felt about it and why it was wrong to leave it to you.
Well, it was wrong. Well, what happened was when you go around trying to prove things, the prison administration also automatically think that you're an enemy. Because they don't want individuals to learn things that can make their life better. Remember, a lot of them profit off of us being in prison. Most of them paycheck is based on imprisonment. Their lifestyle and their livelihood is based on people being in prison. So it's never geared towards making prisoners a better person.
This is why we need people like Cetewayo in the streets. This is why we need our elders to be released. all of them, because they have wisdom, they have time to think, and they're just very, very intelligent people who want to help. Let's talk about the 51 years that you spent in prison, right? The death by incarceration sentence, which was, they told you were going to die in prison. That's like really scary, right?
Yes, yes.
Super scary, and then you were innocent, right? So how many years did you spend in solitary confinement out of the 51?
A total of 40, 44.
And how many did you do straight?
I done 37 straight.
Why?
1979 to 1970.
What was the reason for them holding you so
Well, they
long?
were saying that I was a security risk.
And explain why. What would make you a security risk
Well,
in prison?
then when you constantly be educating other people, you constantly be trying to and read certain type of literature they don't want you to read, they automatically put you in this category as being a violent escape risk.
Wow.
And because of that right there, they try to use that to justify keep me in solitary confinement for all those years.
So, okay, we had a great interview. 51 years in prison. I can't even imagine. Like, I did 12. I can't imagine doing 51 years. You look amazing.
I couldn't imagine myself. I would never thought I'd be in prison for no 50 years.
How'd you get through every day? I know the mantra that I use was one day at a time. Sometimes
Right.
a minute, a second.
I use that too, but sometimes that became just a word with no real substance that would give you strength.
So
what
what
really
gave you
helped me
strength?
was, before I went through, I had the opportunity to read about other individuals. And that right there, and I saw him doing really bad. There's one particular dude named George Jackson. He done 11 years in solitary confinement. I just couldn't even imagine me being there long. I should say, if he's done it, I can do it. And so I took every strength of fortitude I had in me to hold on. Now, I got times that was so bad, I could go to sleep because it would destroy me. And my grandma used to always tell me growing up, she said that next day could be a better day for you. So I would just want that day to end, another day come. But as time went on, all the days were just the same. All
Let
the
me
same.
ask you a question. As a black man who has encountered the criminal justice system, like, I don't even know how you felt. I can only imagine your whole life, like 51 years away, like, and you're still so positive and so happy. And like, I commend you for that. Like, I draw so much strength from you, and I'm just honored to be sitting with you right now. You are a role model for me in this emotional, an idol. And I love you. I love your strength. But what message could you give to people that are biased about people in prison, right? About changing their minds, about second chances, because people could change.
First of all, you got to keep that. We all human beings. We all got emotions. We all sometimes make mistakes. All of us make mistakes at times. And I don't think nobody should be punished to the point that they rest their whole life is put in prison. Let's think if they would take a person, not give them life without parole, but give them maybe 5 or 10 years. Especially if they're young. They're going to mature and they're not going to have the same mentality that they had when they were young. That's a fact. Everybody changes.
So basically, people change.
Yeah.
So everybody deserves a second chance.
Everybody deserves a second chance.
Death by incarceration needs to go.
Yeah, because that's based on a lot of hate. Not based on what the original purpose of prison was, rehabilitation. You're supposed to take them in, give them education, give them alternative views, and most of them embrace that. Because it's a human nature fact. Everybody changes. They get older. Look at the recidivism rate amongst older people. It's very, very small.
Yes.
Very, very small. Yeah.